Today on Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, we're talking about everything you wanted to know about dying. What's the difference between grief and grievance? How can you open yourself more to connect with loved ones who've passed? What's the biggest message those of us on the other side would like us to know? Learn about afterlife communication as we wrap up our month focusing on a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Do you control your clutter, or does your clutter control you? On Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, we'll teach you awareness as well as action steps to create change in your life. Come on, let's get started. Grief can really create clutter. If you listen to my episode and have been a long-time listener, talked a lot about when I was really struggling with grief. I really didn't go into detail with it, but you know that was something I really struggled with. And sometimes we can't get past grief. We can create emotional clutter from grief. I know that some of the things I felt were guilt, anger, sadness. Sometimes having grief when someone has passed creates physical clutter because we can't let stuff go. Oh, my mom would be really upset if I let that go. You can also strain your relationships if you can't move out of grief. I had a really good friend who was in a relationship and experienced this. His girlfriend couldn't get past her grief. All of this can create stress, which can create health clutter. And your heart, you can get grief in your heart and create heart clutter. I encourage you to Google information about the heart wall and how the heart, they feel, is just as big a center, if not more, than the brain. I believe the term is heart wall. I just read an interesting article about how a husband died of a broken heart, right? So if we have grief and we're not sure if someone's safe when they've passed, I completely understand that. So I wanted to have someone on who talks with people on the other side. I'm not trying to make you think a certain way. If you've listened to the podcast, I hope you understand that it's never my intent to force you into anything. I like to present to you my thoughts, my experiences, because I want to help you clear your clutter to share your gifts with the world. This might be a weird topic for some of you, but hopefully you're open to listening to it. And if you're not, that's okay too. I wanted to have today's guest on because I was sent her book by my friend Deborah, and she'd sent me another one, and this book had been kind of calling to me for a while. And I was like, okay, I don't have time to read it. So I had taken it to the beach in May and didn't have it. I was like, oh, I'm just not feeling this. And then we get home from the beach on Saturday, and that Friday, my mother has a heart attack. A bunch of stuff happened, and it was really stressful. And I don't care how old you are, you don't want to lose a parent. I take this book with me because I think, well, if I'm going to be stressed out and upset, and if she goes, then I want something to comfort me if she's gone to the other side. So I just think that this is a really important subject to talk about. Again, it's not to make you think one way or the other. I do end-of-life organization. One of the reasons that I'm passionate about doing this, and I've shared before, is because my father had a meeting 2 years ago with my brother and me to say, okay, here's all our papers and here's everything you need to know. I didn't have to think once about that during this process. And I'm grateful my father's still alive as well. But I could concentrate all my energy on how do I get mom better? What is it that I need to do instead of worrying about where's her health insurance card? What is it that I need to worry about? So that is why I'm passionate about supporting people in end-of-life organization. And as much as I believe in this stuff, I still have some little bit of skepticism. And so that's why another reason why I wanted to share today's guest with you is to maybe open you up. If you're like, I'm not sure, have a listen. I also share for the first time some stories I haven't shared, I think, with anyone. That's not true. I've probably shared them with Tony and Cotty. But if I have, I've only shared with a couple people, and it was very interesting getting Hollis's perspective on that. Because when they happen, and I was grieving with the loss of my grandmother, when 9/11 happened and some interesting things happened, this was what helped give me faith. And so I encourage you, if you've lost someone or you're wondering, does life go on? Take a listen today. During the last 25 years, Hollister Rand's dedication to the healing work of mediumship has included events and workshops in the United States and abroad. Hollister's work on television includes Tori and Dean, Home Sweet Hollywood, and America Now. Her radio appearances include Sirius XM's The Seance with John Edward, Coast FM's Angels in Waiting, K-Big FM's Radio Medium, and Coast to Coast with George Norrie. Hollister's first book, I'm Not Dead, I'm Different, Kids in Spirit Teach Us About Living a Better Life on Earth, published by HarperCollins, is available in several languages. Hollister lives in Los Angeles with her impossibly small chihuahuas, Bodhi and Amara Meta. Welcome, Hollister.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today.
I loved your book. I'm excited to introduce you to my audience. I very rarely interview people now, and I'm very particular. Love the energy of your book. And then Deborah sent me something with your picture, and I was like, just completely love you. You have great energy. So I'd like you to...
Thank you for getting that from a picture. I work with students and we do psychometry, where we work with the energy of people as it imprints on photos. So thank you for that.
Well, you know what? I have to tell you a funny story. So Deborah had said, I think you'd be interested in this book. And she also put your book in. So I was like, oh, I'm really digging that book, but now is not the time. And so your book kept calling to me. And I was like, finally, I read it. And it was, my mother had a heart attack and a stroke. And when I was on the plane to see her, I thought, if this is her time, now is the time to read this book. Because I thought, if this is it, I need comfort. And I started the book. I'm like, I wasn't finished. And I said, Deborah, I want to get her on the show. I don't do what you do, but I work with end of life, getting organized. And I think what you do is so important. So can you explain what exactly is a psychic medium?
Well, I define that in the book at length, but I'll give you the short version. So a psychic reads the energy around people, places, and things here on the earth plane. A medium connects with spirits and communicates with them through their energy, receiving information from them through energy. So a psychic medium is someone who can connect with both the energy of the earth plane and people on it, as well as spirits, and in that create a totality of a message.
Fantastic, because everything's energy, whether you believe that from a physics perspective or spiritual. And I would just, if I were to someone, I'd be like, she connects to the energy, and that's what you do. I was
Yes, and it just depends on where the information is coming from. It's like we're computers and there are two different servers.
I had something really curious happen, and I think when we're close to people, and if I tear up and talk about my grandmother, I apologize, because first of all, I had a big aha moment I can't wait to share when I read your book that was really important to me. But when my grandmother was dying, I'll never forget, I was living in Los Angeles. She was in West Virginia. Now, I wanted to ask a couple questions. One, I believe I wasn't there because, and one of my aunts, because I think we would have impeded her process, because we would have been like, don't go, don't go. And so I'd like to know about that. And the other question that happened, I said to my grandmother, I've always been the weird child in the family. I'm the weirdo, though they're starting to
join the club. Join the club.
Thank you. So I said, grandmother, just let me know that you're okay, that you've made it to the other side. I don't know if I've ever told this story. So I'm sitting there waiting for my brother to come because he was in LA and we were having someone drive us to the airport. We were taking a red eye that night. So all of a sudden, this is what I feel as I'm pounding on my chest. I'm like, oh my God, she's leaving the earth. And I'm not you. I don't have your ability, but because we were so close. And then I was like, she's gone. And literally 5 minutes later, the family called and said she passed. And they said, we tried to call you for 5 minutes, but all the electronics were down. We couldn't get a working phone. So I was like, okay, that's her way of telling me she arrived safely. So I'd love to know your thoughts about if we impede the process and if I'm nuts with my experience I shared.
Well, I have to tell you, I have chills with this whole thing. I mean, as you're telling the story. So have no doubt that your grandmother is present. I mean, you know, those we love are never truly separate from us. But they can give us information about relocation. You know, it's kind of like if we're going on a trip, the people we love say, would you just let us know when you've arrived? And so we get a call. Well, the spirits may sometimes call on phones, believe it or not. They will communicate through electronic devices, but also they will tug at our heartstrings, this sense of, okay, I'm here, I hear you, I'm already okay, before you get the message that they're dead. Because the true thing that impedes us is the idea that they're dead. You know, that is the thing that stands between us and our loved ones in spirit, is that we think there's a division. So what I love when spirits show up and let us know, hey, I've arrived, before we even hear from someone here on the earth plane, that reminds us that, oh, wait a minute, there isn't this thing called death in the way that we might think about it. And now to deal with the issue around being with a loved one when they pass, or not being with a loved one when they pass. You know, that is really an emotionally fraught situation. And so what I would say is the spirits who have passed without loved ones there, and often loved ones here on this earth plane, are very upset. I should have been there, especially in times of COVID right now,
yes,
where people are being prevented from being with loved ones. There's the fear that they are dying alone.
yes.
Well, first of all, that's not the case. No one dies alone. The bottom line is that there are spirits, their loved ones and spirits, friends, other relatives who will be there to escort them. So no one dies alone. And the other thing is, spirits will say to me, you know, I want my loved one to remember me alive. I don't want the last memory to be of a dead body in a bed, because that doesn't represent the vibrancy of relationship. So the spirits are always honoring connection and relationship. So that's what I would say to that.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to share, I know that people I've interviewed for a long time, I love to share examples because I think there's probably someone listening who can relate to that. And they might tell themselves, oh, I'm wrong about that. So one time I was working with a healer and I said, I really miss Sybil. And Sybil was like a second mother to me. And she's like, well, why don't we invite Sybil to come on down, right? And I'm cracking up because all of a sudden I feel Sybil in the room, and I'm laughing because she's like, yep, I can fit you in now, but I'm Julie McCoy on the Love Boat, and I'm doing the social calendar on the other side, so I'm here to help, but let's get to it. And I cracked up because I could literally, this presence was Sybil, because that's how she was in life, and she was a social butterfly at the next adventure.
Yes, well, the spirits will show up as we recognize them, and even to a medium. But it doesn't mean that they stay always in that particular form. So yes, she was demonstrating that she is a social butterfly. Then you're like, there's Sybil.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that spirits can be in more than one place at a time. So she can be with you, and she can be on the Love Boat at the same time, because consciousness isn't limited in that way. But what she was showing you was an identifier. This is who I am. So you're like, yes, that's her. But we also understand that our loved ones can be with others in our group here on the earth plane. We're not stealing them from other people. Does that make sense? And they can also be with loved ones in the afterlife. They can be pursuing other things in the afterlife, while still being with us. And I think about it this way. We'll live in like a nuclear family and everybody has breakfast together or whatever, maybe the ideal of that is. Then everybody goes their own way and they're checking in on their cell phones and texting, and then they come together at the end of the day. Spirit communication and connections with spirits are a lot like that. We're close, we go on about our business, but we're always connected, we're checking in. And then there are those times, let's say a child is sick at school and the mother gets a call from the principal. Boom, she's over there, picks up the child, takes the child home. So when we call and we ask for our loved ones to be there for help, for healing, or whatever the case may be, their energy can concentrate in a form that is more available to us.
Well, I had a big aha moment reading your book. And I have to say, I don't know if you were the designer or the organizer of the book, but I love how it's set up and I love the bite size. I just think that was brilliant. So hats off to whoever designed that. So I had something recent. So I was reading your book and I had this huge aha moment when my grandmother first died, and she's the closest person that I've lost. For a year, I would hear that song, "Oh, child, things are gonna get easier." And every time I think about her, sad, right? And I hadn't heard from her for a while. So the interview with you today is today on Tuesday. Friday night at 10 o'clock, I'm sitting on the couch because one of your things was, once it's been some time, they're there, but they're more subtle. So start being aware and paying attention. So I'd read that and it has been in my mind a lot. And I heard, get up, go. We just filed a lawsuit against our HOA yesterday. Now, my grandmother was an attorney. She was the first female attorney in my hometown, right? I love her. She's awesome. So I'm cracking up and I heard, you need to go look at this. So I did. And then on the next page was a huge thing basically saying, North Carolina law supersedes any HOA rules, which they're trying to argue. And I hadn't caught. And I'm like, I can bring it to court. But I was like, thanks, grandmother. Like, I have no doubt that I wouldn't say it was like my grandmother's love or energy, but that hit, like, go do that. That was from her.
Absolutely. I have no doubt. Spirits will have signatures for their communications with us. Things that they are interested in or we're interested in here, that we are involved with now, will often trigger sort of a drop-in of, hey, take a look at this, or a direction. So that's what I would say is, rather than expecting how information is going to come, just, listen. Make space in your life to just listen. And that paying attention, not, oh, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that now. It's like, oh, wait a minute, that just hit me. Let me just go take a look. If we all did that all the time, we would find ourselves more in line with spirit and our own purpose.
That's fantastic. Do you have any tips to open up space to listen, or is it just about being aware and honoring?
Well, I have classes online and I also teach classes, and I'm going to do some more stuff online as well as the year progresses. And in the book, I have things laid out a little bit more broadly than I can perhaps give people here. But what I would say is making space in your life is important. People ask me, do the spirits ever get annoyed? Do they get angry at us? And no, I would say they do not. They have eternity. So therefore, patience isn't necessarily virtue. It's just the nature of eternity. But the idea that we do not listen, that we're asking, and do not pause for an answer, that is something that the spirits comment on. So what I would say is, what pause looks like are a couple of different things. Pause looks like removing distraction. And you would think that in a lockdown, we would have fewer distractions because we're not running around. But that's not necessarily true. What happens is people start binging things, and binging cooking, and binging eating, and binging watching. So we build distraction into our lives. So the first thing the spirit suggests is let go of some of the distraction, and then practice deep listening. Allow yourself to be in silence. Imagine that. It's harder than you think at first. and then developing some level of mindfulness or meditation, which keeps you in the present moment, because that is where the spirits meet us.
Fantastic. Those are great suggestions. So as we're talking and coronavirus is going on and however direction that's going to take, is there something going on when we have, and 9/11 would be the example that I would use, and when we have a tragedy like that and there are many people that die, have you found an agreement or something going on? And I think this is the last, I've only had this happen once. On 9/11, I was living in Los Angeles, and I'm in shock, I know, right? And I'm at lunch with someone else, and if there wasn't someone else to witness it, but I literally had a bowl move across the table. We were at a Japanese restaurant, and I don't know who it was, what it was spirit. And I was like, wow, okay. And to me, it felt like the veil was thin. I don't know how else to describe it, but I just felt there was something trying to a message or reach. And so your thoughts on that, or your thoughts on something like coronavirus, is there any good we can come out of it? And I'll let you, whatever you want to say. Are you always comparing yourself? How are you not honoring yourself? Do you spend time gossiping? Would you like to share your gifts with the world? Get control of your clutter so your clutter doesn't control you. Reclaim time, money, sanity, and resources. Spiritual Got Clutter 365 journal prompt supports you in clearing your spiritual clutter. Free gift with purchase to support you even more in your journey to declutter your life.
You talk about 9/11. I would go back even to the AIDS crisis, because at that time I was living in Los Angeles. I had a lot of people in the entertainment industry that I was close to, and it got to be so you didn't want to pick up the phone. And I ended up working with people who were dying with HIV. So that was kind of my hard entree into the idea of viruses and an impact and where is the good. I come from a place of where is the good, because that's where the spirits that I work with at the frequency of divine love, that is their perspective. Where is the good? Where is this bringing us together? And so there are a number of things that I can say about coronavirus. For the first time in my living memory, the entire world is thinking about loss, is experiencing grief in a way that we haven't in recent memory. And this is what I'm saying, recent memory, because of course there was the pandemic of 1918. Right. And interestingly enough, I found out that I have a great uncle on my father's side named Emil, who died during that pandemic after being married for 2 years. So we all have relatives who have been through these pandemics and these issues and these shifts and changes before, and they are here present with us. So I have had those I knew who passed with HIV. We didn't even know what to call it at that time. They're showing up in my life. I'm like, look at that. Before coronavirus hit in any significant way, before we really knew about it, it was in our consciousness. I was sitting and doing a meditation about scientists working with people here on the earth, and Jonas Salk showed up, and I thought, why is he here? Well, imagine that. But what I am discovering is at this moment in time, there is rapt focus around life, death, personal value, connection. We are trying to understand how we can be isolated and connected at the same time, which has been the question we've all asked when we've lost someone we love. How can we move grief into a place of joy? How can we do that? And coronavirus now gives us an opportunity to do that together, along with not only the people who have passed recently due to coronavirus, but those who have passed in the pandemic, the AIDS crisis, the Holocaust. So I just want you to know that all of those who have passed at difficult, challenging times, those who died of starvation during the Depression. They are all here helping us now.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. What would you say to someone, because you brought that up, that we're this grief, what would you say to someone who's grieving? I mean, I think grief is obviously a process, but maybe someone who's really in the thick of it, what words would you say to them?
Well, I would hope that I would be inspired by spirit as I was speaking, so that they aren't my words,
Okay.
because it's really important as people to listen and be informed and inspired as we speak to one another, so that we don't speak from our own pain or limitation. So if I were speaking with someone in grief, and this has happened as I've been speaking with their spirits, the first thing we would identify is not grief, but grievance. Grievance is the thing that says, this should not have happened this way. He died too soon. This is my fault. It was that drunk driver's fault. So grievance is how angry we are about the passing. How could he have killed himself? All he had to do was talk to me. I would have loaned him the money. I would have taken him to rehab. You know, all the things that we tell ourselves about what is wrong about someone's passing is the grievance part of it. And spirits speak to that. They will often correct the record about what we tell ourselves about their death. Oh, it must have been terrifying when they died. Well, I've had many spirits just say, oh, that's just how I got here. They are pretty cavalier about something that we're holding on to as a horrific experience. So there's tremendous grace as people pass. So that's what I would say first is look at the grievance that you're holding. Let the grievance go, because grief is, grief can be dealt with. Grief can be healed. Grievance has to be let go.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I've never heard it expressed that way. And I think that for me is a really huge aha moment. So when my mom was a couple of weeks ago, had a heart attack, then had a stroke, had a second heart attack. And the thing that got me present was, okay, if it's her time, it's her time. I have no control over that. So I'm going to go, whatever happens. That was the one thing that helped me. So when I got to her, I wasn't a hot mess emotionally, because I thought, however, I needed to be there to support her. But that was for me to become present and say, okay, it's out of your control.
Well, yes. And that is a really important point. As far as it being someone's time, I don't think we run around with a timer inside us and it goes ding and we die. I mean, it just doesn't seem to work that way. But the idea of it not being in our control and having it to do much more with the person who is passing, their process, their life path, that's a whole nother thing. And being able to be present with that. You see, that's love. That's not need. And so when we bring love and presence to dying, it can be an amazing experience. When we bring need and discomfort and demand and ownership of someone else's process, that can be painful.
That's a great way to put it. Now, I believe if you prepare for death, you can live life fully. I think, we're here in America. I think our culture is less accepting or more resistant to death. So what are your thoughts? So for instance, I'm very spiritual. I believe I'm trying to figure it out. I've been reading about multiple timelines. It kind of makes my head ache, reincarnation, all that. As much as I believe in that, and much I believe in you're the real deal, but I still have a fear of death. So what would you say, because I'm betting I'm not alone, for people watching or listening, what would you say to people who are afraid of death?
Well, that's actually why I wrote the book. I was on a cruise with a group of metaphysical people, and I was leading workshops with other practitioners at this cruise for people who are metaphysically minded. And one of the things I started to do is ask people to write questions down on a piece of paper and put them in a basket so that people who were afraid to speak in front of a group would get their questions answered. Because some of the most interesting questions that people had were those that they didn't want to ask in front of a whole group. Well, wouldn't you know, I'm standing up in front of this whole group of metaphysical people, and I pull out a question, and the question is there really an afterlife? Yeah, I was gobsmacked because, I thought, well, gee, we're all here. I thought we at least agreed that there was some kind of afterlife. Maybe we don't all agree with the nature of it, but I thought we were all on the same page. What a gift that question was. And you see, whoever asked it wouldn't have asked it in a metaphysical group, and identified themselves. But how fantastic that I was asked that. So rather than just be flippant, I stood there, and as I looked out on the audience, I saw their loved one showing up around them. And I paused and I listened. I said, okay, what is the answer to this? What answer do you give me to give to your loved ones? And what I heard was, there isn't an afterlife. There is only life. And so what I would say is, yes, our form changes. And yes, things do change. And death can be a transforming experience. But there is only life.
I love that. That's fantastic. And I have to say, what I enjoyed about your book at the time, it was comforting. When I wasn't in crisis, I was stressed out, but that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. Would you say, and there could be a zillion answers to this, but with all the years that you've done it, what do you think the biggest message Spirit wants us to have with all the spirits you've talked to? And again, you might be like, it's different for different people, but is there maybe one common message or common theme that you think they'd want us to know?
You are not alone. That's really it.
Yeah.
And in that not being alone, this idea of oneness is the idea of oneness in love. So the idea of connection. The real lie about death, and maybe even the lie about coronavirus, is that we are separate from one another. Yeah. That we are isolated and we are alone. The spirits, every single message of love, hope, and healing that I receive from the spirits underscores the idea that we are not in this alone. This thing called life.
Yeah, yeah. What suggestions would you have? You're obviously gifted and this is what you do, but for someone who's listening, like, how could they, if they wanted to connect with a loved one, what suggestions would you have for them, or maybe tips?
Well, the first thing I would say is let go of any expectation around how you think a loved one should come. So I will have clients who come to me and their loved one will say, oh, you've been asking me to do this or that or the other thing, almost like they're being asked to jump through hoops from the other side to let their loved ones know that they're around. So the first thing I would say is let go of your expectation. And know that the spirits may show up for you in an annoying way. You're not going to miss their messages. You're not going to miss their presence because it's almost on loop. And I'll give you an example. There was a woman who desperately was trying to get her father to quit smoking. And then after he died, he would show up with smoke. When she sat in my office, I was like, wow, I am smelling cigarette smoke, unfiltered, really heavy, like chain smoker. She goes, yeah, that's my dad. And I said, he mentions to me that that's how he lets you know he's around. She rolls her eyes. Yeah, I know, I'm smelling his smoke. I was so annoyed that he wouldn't stop smoking. Well, now he's showing up with smoke. And we might say, why? It's annoying. Well, in California, it's hard to smell smoke these days because it's banned in so many places. Yeah. So if it shows up in your house and there's no one else there, you know that it's most likely a spirit. And the other thing was, he was reminding her that her hounding him about stopping smoking was her way to express love and wanting to know that he was present. And his smoke was letting her know, I'm present. And guess what? What is it going to do to me now? Kill me?
Wow. That's great. Are there other ways? I've read sometimes that people think birds or maybe animals or spirit
Yes,
that people might.
in the book, I go through a lot of ways that people will, that loved ones will say hello. Electrical anomalies. You mentioned nature. Nature is a big thing. All winged creatures, you know, birds, butterflies, dragonflies, and even in my own life, when I was thinking about writing the next book, which is this book, I had the idea of it while I was in the car on the way to the library. As I got out of the car, and with my books, a swarm of dragonflies came around me. I was like, what? I mean, it was like the birds, only on like a miniature scale. It was terrifying. Well, I dropped my books off at the library, got in the car, and I said, well, gosh, I guess Spirit wants me to write this book. And I had to Google swarm of dragonflies because I didn't think it was possible in the middle of LA. And there is such a thing as a swarm of dragonflies. Before a medium, one dragonfly doesn't a spirit make, you know, a spirit message. For a medium, I mean, it has to be a little over the top for me to go, oh yeah, well, yeah, that actually might be spirit, because I'm used to a certain level of communication. So what I would say is, if you think your loved ones are coming with, let's say, hummingbirds, it would most likely be hummingbirds or unusual behavior, like a hummingbird buzzing you in the face and then going away, or showing up at odd times, that kind of thing. Being in nature, you may hear a loved one's voice in the leaves of the trees. So yes, nature is another way that spirits will say hello.
I'm laughing as you were talking. I had forgotten when I got married. I got married 7 years ago, almost. And a praying mantis landed on my wedding gown. And luckily we had a great photographer. She's like, I got to get a shot of that. And it didn't dawn on me because I don't know, I was enjoying my wedding. But wow, that was someone from the other side.
Yes, absolutely. And depending on where was it on your gown?
Like the thigh area.
Okay, that's interesting. Was it the left side or the right side?
I think left, but I'm not positive. I'm going to make myself look at the photo.
The leg you step out on. That is often when you take a step into something new, it's often the left. So how appropriate for your wedding that the praying mantis would be on the left side moving forward.
Interesting. See, I love all
on the right side, it might have something more with following through. So if you look at the photos and you see that it's on the right side, it could also be, okay, commitment, following through on a commitment.
Okay, that's good to know. And then that just reminds me of another thing. Both my husband's parents are deceased, but the one thing that was important to me, and we did, is so we had 2 chairs for his parents. We gave them flowers. Now, I believe they were there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I speak with clients and let's say a father has died prior to a wedding, and, you know, I've even spoken with brides whose fathers or mothers have died the day before the wedding, the day of the wedding, the day after the wedding. These auspicious occasions are also valuable dates for people to cross as well. So I just want you to know, loved ones in spirit are here on these auspicious days. If your father passed prior to the wedding, but you wanted him to walk you down the aisle, please know he's walking you down the aisle. The spirits are there and we can acknowledge them.
Fantastic, because that was just really important to me. I never met them, but I'm like, they're your family, and they were right next to my parents, right in the front. That was just the one thing that was important. At the beginning of this said, I saw that picture, you loved your energy. I love the energy of the book. So I know you're legit. I know you're good. So what other suggestions would you have? And we'll let you tell people how they can find out more about you, but you're not going to be able to see everyone in the world. So if someone what advice would you have to them if they're seeking to talk? Because I think you're a great resource for someone who is struggling. How would they know you're legit, you're real? And I know this woman, I'm not close with her, but her mother died and she was in great grief, and she went to someone, and she was convicted because they found out she was in San
Ouch.
Francisco, and that she had been, I don't know, this was the days before Google, but had found all this information and I believe was prosecuted. I think, and I want to be really clear, I am not saying this is your industry. We have people like that in everything, because I get really upset when people are like, oh, this stuff's fake. No, people are legit. But what advice would you have for someone who is looking for someone?
Well, what I would suggest is doing what you would do to put a roof on your house, replumb your house, or buy a car. It's usually information from several sources. The problem that arises is with grief, there is often a level of desperation. And there are people who could take advantage of someone's desperation and overwhelming need. But what I would say is, if you are interested in spirit communication and all of that, talk with your friends. Let them know that you're looking for a medium. Read books, check resources, check references. Go to see a medium in a group event if you can. And right now, like, all my events are online, but that's still okay, because you really get a sense of who this person is and how they connect with each person, and see what resonates with you. But yes, you can check people out. And I would, assume that that's what people would do.
Excellent. Now, I'm always about taking action when I do this podcast. So what action would you like people to take? It's up to you, whatever you'd like from this talk for them to do to move forward in some way or shape in their life.
Well, I think lean into your curiosity is really important. Think about life and death, and think about where we are and how you can be your best self. I'm hoping that my book, Everything You Wanted to Know About the Afterlife, but Were Afraid to Ask, could be a resource in that. But it's not going to be the only resource. But school yourself. Think about things. Think about what is valuable to you.
Fantastic. Now tell people how they can find out more information about you, the book, buy the book, the website, whatever you'd like to share.
Okay, well, my website is hollisterrand.com. My email is hollisterrand@gmail.com, and that's HOLLISTERRAND.com. And I had that word before the clothing company did. I do online classes. We're doing online book signings. I'm on Facebook. I do Facebook Live events. I'm a very accessible medium, and I love to educate.
Fantastic. And we'll put notes on YouTube and the show podcast notes so people will be able to connect with you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
Next month, we're talking about living life fully. Go out, clear your clutter to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire. When you clear your clutter, you can share your gifts with the world. Sign up for our free newsletter at reawakenyourbrilliance.com. If you've enjoyed Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, please rate, review, and share us.